All right, this is lab 3, and it's going to tell you to kind of show you some differences between some power supplies, and most specifically, we have the HPs up here, which are some old and yet Heathkits, which are older but yet very, very stable. Both the 2718 and the IP27 are our primary workhorses in this part of the lab. This little one here, this little ICO, it's an okay one, but we're going to show you some definite differences here. So on power supplies. So what we're going to do is that we're going to use our multimeter for everything that we do. And the reason why we're going to use our multimeter in our measurements, and I'm moving it over here just so you can see it, and not because I want you to, but because so you can see it, is that we're going to use this little guy here, and what we're going to do is we're going to set it up in a test fixture, and we are going to go ahead and put our ground here and our positive lead here, and it says, how much do these things supply for current? Well, I couldn't tell you what the maximum supply is for it, but that might be a good indication for your lab. The adjustment for the power is right here, and this meter it's a meter. The reality is that the meter that we want to use is one that we're going to always measure everything with, which is one of ours here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach the output of the power supply to this one here. It has a maximum range of 30 volts, which is the top scale there. So I'm going to make sure I'm on a DC voltage of at least 30 volts. 100 volts would be a lot safer. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to that. I'm hoping that the battery hasn't been ruined because it's been sitting there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of zero it down. I shouldn't have to zero it too much, and I'm worried about that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this all the way off. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in, and then I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to see if it comes up. All right, so I want to put, according to the power lab, I want to put on this thing, I want to go to 25 volts. And since I'm using the voltage scale here, and the bottom one here, I'm on the 100 volt scale, so that's 10 times 110, which is 100. So 25 will be just a little bit more. Right about there. Now I'm using this scale here and not this one, even though it's right on the money for 25, and that's good. So I've measured the resistance of the 100 ohm resistor that we're going to use, and I've got the maximum and minimum voltage. So if I went all the way up, measure my maximum voltage, which is about 47 volts, and all the way down my minimum, right before it turns off, it says 0, right about there. And then I'm going to bring it back. I'll have my 25 volts I'm supposed to have here. Okay. 25 volts. Then it says, let's go ahead and determine the maximum current rating. Well, again, as I said, I want to make sure and look around and see what it is. I've measured what we call the no load voltage. There's nothing else on the circuit. There's nothing on this. It's just the leads coming from the power supply. Now this is a trick. Do not shut this off. Just keep your hands off of this. Reach over and unplug it, just like that, right? Because we've set this to be the voltage that we want. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to apply the voltage from that power supply to this resistor. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to get these in there to do what we want to do. So instead, I'm going to put this inside of a circuit board, a spring board to be exact. I'll show you what I'm doing here. Okay. So I've got my spring board attached right here. I'm now going to take one of my leads, go there, take one of my leads, go there. Oops. So now I have it in a springboard. Okay. So I still have my positive power supply coming here, go through the resistor, back to my negative. Now I'm going to take my multimeter, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and put the positive towards positive, put it in the springboard, take my negative towards more negative, and as you can see, I now have this, right? So again, power supply is coming in, going through the resistor, back through to the power supply. I'm only going to measure between the positive side and the negative side going there. So since it's off, now what I'll do is I'm going to just reach over. Now remember, I did not change this at all. Now I'm going to plug it in. And I'm going to look at that power supply. Look at that. I had it set to 25, and it is definitely not 25. In fact, if we're on that 100 volt scale, which is what we're doing over here, we're down at about 18 volts. So that's my loaded, full load value. And so I take my 25 volts, subtract my 18 volts, divided by my full load value again of 18 volts, and multiply by 100. And that's going to give me my overall percent regulation, all right, of my power supply. Again, that's for this one here. And now to be safe, I am just going to go ahead and turn this off because I'm not going to do this again with it. Unplug it. And now I'm going to put this back away in its little home till next year. And I will show you what we do with the next one. The next one we're going to use is probably the heat kit up here. And now we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to use the junctions here. And like this. Leave it on a 100 volt scale. And the difference here on this one is that on this power supply, we have our voltage ranges and we have our current ranges. If we're in a red, we need to be in a red. If we're in a black, we need to be in one of the blacks. And there's the big difference, and make sure you do that. This adjusts the course current. I just leave it stay all the way up so we have maximum current if necessary. And this one here is our voltage for adjusting the fine current inside there, all right? I want to be on the 20 through 25 volt range. In fact, I'll probably want to be on a 25 through 30 volt range just to make sure. Right now we're in a reset standby, so we're not making any measurement yet. Now when I turn it on, now that voltage is going to increase. And on there it says about 25 volts by my scale, which I'm looking at. However, over here it definitely shows that we are not at 25, we're a little bit high. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this to be where I have 25 volts. And it looks like I will need to go down one scale. And now I'm going to increase it until I see 25 volts on my triplet. And I'm at 25 volts there. And as you can see, I've got in a 20 through 25 volt scale. I'm in the red 500 milliamps. That's the maximum current it's going to provide for me at that point. And then I've got my course range here. Now I don't need to unplug it. I just go into standby. It keeps everything the same. It just shut down the output. All right. I'm going to do the same exact thing as I did with my other one. I am going to attach it here and just verify. Helps if I had my power leads on the correct way. Okay, 25 volts, 25 volts, so I'm good. Okay. Now I'm just going to do the same exact thing, put it on the load, just like that. See, back on the load. Right to that 100 ohm. And we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to got 25 volts, and now we'll turn it back on. And it says about 25 volts. So underneath a load, this power supply is still maintaining its output. All right. So 25 and 25 is 0. It gives us a 0% regulation, because 0 times anything like that is going to be 0. So therefore, we've got a really good power supply that's holding its voltage as we need to.